Arjun, welcome to India today. I remember on May 11th walking into a theatre, watching this film called Ishq Zadeh, not knowing what to expect. I knew who the boy was. I mean, I didn't know who the boy was, but I knew I was excited to see a new face being launched. Whistles in theatres, people loving the songs, you killing it per se. That is my memory of the film, and walking out of the theatre and giving a glowing review to you and the film. If I take you back in time, we do time travel, take me through what was it like for you?
Well, I'm sitting here and doing this interview with you in Yash Raj, and this is the space in which we did workshops, Pariniti and myself, Habib sir. So for me, it's very surreal to be even talking about it 10 years later. When I was getting ready for the release, I think it was, I'll take it a day or two further back. It was 9th of May when I saw the film on the big screen in Yash Raj, and Yash uncle and Pam auntie were watching it, Pariniti and me were watching. These were the four people. And that's the first time I saw myself on the big screen. And when you work on a film, even no matter, I've grown up in the industry, but I didn't think too much about it. I just tried to do my job at that point in time. And it was surreal to see yourself on the big screen. And that, I think, is the greatest feeling in the world for any actor who's trying to make it in Hindi cinema. To see yourself on the big screen, everything changes. You feel a sense of belonging. And after that, I think the film released on the 11th of May, and it felt like the first day of the rest of my life when I went to Gaiety to see the reaction, and people were, like you saying, whistling when Chokra Jawan happened. And then we went to PVR, we went to one of the multiplexes in Juhu, and interval hua, और मैं बाहर आके बैठ गया Pariniti और Habib sir के साथ. And then all the audience members that came out spotted me and Pariniti, and they wanted to take pictures with me. And Pariniti was already known by then because she had done Ladies vs. Ricky Bell. I was maybe way more unknown as a quantity as an actor. I was known more for my surname or perhaps my legacy or my family. But it just felt nice that people wanted to come and take photos after seeing half my film, and that for me was a very big deal. And I really felt welcomed by the audience when I saw the film in the theatres. Just the fact that people came to congratulate me and tell me how good I was in the film, because you have to understand, I'm not Parma. I never was. I've grown up in Bombay, I've grown up in Mumbai, I've grown up in Juhu, I've grown up in Lokhandwala, Chembur. Lucknow and UP and all were things that you only heard of. I don't even have family hailing from there. My family was from Delhi, most of the ones that live outside Mumbai. So I was not that, and just to be accepted as something else completely empowered me as an actor to believe that, okay, the audience appreciates your hard work and the effort you put in. And I think I was just relieved that kaam milega. I think that genuinely was, and it sounds stupid to say 10 years down the line, but at that point, all I wanted to do was just make it. I just wanted to work, I just wanted to be accepted, and I just wanted to make good films, and I got that chance, and yet...
Absolutely. And you rightfully mentioned one thing, which is you're so unlike Parma. There is Zameen Asman ka farak, as they say, between these characters.
Parma is, I can still be Parma, but the thing is, I'm not Parma.
Correct.
Parma would sit like, "Ha, bol Tushar, kya chahiye tujhe?"
So what gets me curious about the fact is, what was that audition process like? Do you have any anecdotes?
So I auditioned with Shanu Sharma. First when my photos were presented to Adi sir. I'd never met Aditya Chopra or Yash Chopra in my life before my audition got accepted. And even though I hail from the film industry, Adi sir is a very private person, and the paths never crossed. I'd worked on Kalono as an assistant and Salamesh, etc., but never entered Yash Raj for work ever. Shanu showed him pictures, I was rejected because he didn't feel I had what it took. I then worked for 3 months with Shanu, and I worked to lose even more weight and look slightly more acceptable in the mainstream sense. And then I did a basic audition, and he saw that and he said, okay, this guy can act. Because what Shanu did is she didn't pause in between takes.
Okay.
She just kept the whole take flowing. So takes के बीच में मैं बहुत मस्ती करता था. अभी भी करता हूँ. I have this habit, I imitate people, and I was imitating Anil Chachu, and I was making fun of her. And I was doing a lot of other things in between being the character that I was auditioning for. And he got impressed by all that in between, along with the fact that the audition was half decent. And that was a film called Virus Diwan I was supposed to do. Now that didn't happen eventually. It was a Y Films launch that was supposed to be. I did a poster for it, and we actually presented that to the media. I still remember that. Shraddha was doing Love Ka the End. There was Mujhse Friendship Karoge and Virus Diwan. These were the 3 films. 6 महीने बीते, ऑडिशन होने के बाद मैं एक्सेप्ट हो गया, 3 फिल्म कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिला, लेकिन वो फिल्म स्टार्ट नहीं हुई. I didn't have the right to ask Adi sir what was happening. He just said, go and meet Habib Faisal. He's made Do Duri Char and he's written Band Baja Barat. So I met him. I had a conversation with him and it was an amazing conversation. We bonded over a few things and I thought, okay, chalo, wo film nahi ho rahi, ab ye film.
Right.
And then I was told, okay, now I have to audition. So I was like, oh, I have to audition again for this film. Ironically, Ishak Zade's original title was Tevar.
Oh.
So when I got the script, when I was auditioning, it was Tevar. And I auditioned for 3 months. I had to keep ragdaving myself.
You mean you went through the process for 3?
Yeah, I was not told that I am on for that particular film. Between Adi sir and Habib sir, I was being pushed more and more. I auditioned with a lot of other female candidates. I also auditioned alone. So by the end, I knew the script and the character inside out, but there was still a part of me missing. So I gave up almost. I went to Adi sir and said, yaar, इनको जानवर चाहिए, मैं वो जानवर हूँ नहीं शायद. He said, you have to believe in yourself. You are Parma. He sees it, I see it, but you don't see it. And that's the biggest problem. You have to get out of your comfort zone and push yourself. I said, sir, मुझे नहीं पता क्या करना है. मैं रोज आता हूँ, रोज काम करता हूँ, कलरी पैदू कर रहा हूँ, मैं रीडिंग्स कर रहा हूँ, वर्कशॉप कर रहा हूँ. He said, no, you have to believe in yourself. I said, okay, sir. And the next day, Habib sir took me, it's right here in Yashraj. He said, okay, now I want you to enter the girls' bathroom. I said, what do you mean? Because film एक सीन है जहाँ पर मैं जोया से माफ़ी मांगने जाता हूँ बाथरूम के अंदर और कहता हूँ हरामजादे नहीं इशक ज़ादे माफ़ी गलती हो गई माफ़ी दे दे. I said, sir, मैं, he said, no, you have to go. So I went in and I came out. I said, sir, अंदर तो कोई नहीं है. He said, हाँ, but the fact is तुमको इतना सोचना पड़ा. Parma कभी सोचता नहीं.
Correct.
So you have to understand what Parma is even more. And that's basically they had to break Arjun down to create Parma. And,
yes.
And I think eventually one day they turned around and said, हाँ ठीक है तुम कर लोगे ठीक है. So I was like, it took 3 months. But that was their process to break me out of my comfort zone of being a boy from this city. It was grueling. And by the time Pariniti came on board, I think I was very prepared and I was ready, roaring to shoot. It took about 6 months to find a girl. 3 months of mine plus 3 more months of finding the girl.
Correct.
तो 6 महीने में तैयार हो गया था. मैंने बहुत मेहनत की, genuinely बहुत मेहनत की, because I was desperate to make sure that I do a good job. Now that I look back and I talk about it, it sounds like a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun to become Parma. And I think I became that only because I gave that kind of time and energy into that character, and it paid off.
Paid off in a big time. And knowing how obsessed you are with movies.
Yes.
I mean, I know we've had these conversations. You literally are a walking IMDb, Wikipedia. You can just throw off numbers. You can
yeah,
throw.
I can.
There are actors and directors who have told me that box office, go to Arjun, he will tell you. This brings me to the fact that when you have your very first movie coming out, how did you deal with the whole focus on how well the film will do at the box office, numbers, opening day, weekend?
Yeah, thankfully, before I could realize it, the first day the film took a great start and it grew on the second day. So, the first day I think we did about 4 crore 60 lakhs, and that's quite a high number for a debut. And the second day it grew and third day it grew. I was also not so caught up in the box office, it was more about just the acceptance. And I knew see, what was the reference point of a successful newcomer film at that point in time? Band Baja Barat.
Yes.
And the performances were appreciated, and that film grew from starting at 1.5 crore or something on the first day to becoming a 25 crore hit. But Band Baja's value is of a 100 crore film. It generated 2 of the most important actors in the new generation in that sense who've gone on and done such amazing work. The idea behind Ishak Zade for me also was कि यार उतना importance तो मिले हम दोनों actors को ताकि we can also get better work. और वो process start हो गया था while the film was doing well. We started getting opportunities and offers coming our way, at least my way. Within a month of Ishak Zade, I ended up signing 4 films. So by the time Ishak Zade's run ended, it did about 45 odd crores. The thing is, box office wise, the film had done really well. But at the same time, it had done so well that I was being offered the right kind of films. And Yashraj was able to make Gunde with Ranveer and me eventually, and that's a huge film. I mean, regardless of anything, you look at the scale, even today that film stands the test. We got Ali Abbas Zafar, who had just done Mere Brother Ki Dulhan. There was Priyanka Chopra, Irfan Khan. So I think Ishak Zade's number and the success is one value, but the kind of acceptance I got and the kind of reach I got with that film. I got a pan-India reach. The film did well unanimously. The film did well universally, and there was an awareness. I penetrated into the mainstream Hindi audience, and therefore I got mainstream work to do. And then I signed 2 states, Aurangzeb, Finding Family.
Yes.
So in the span of, I think 45 days of Ishaq Zadeh, my career had 4 films lined up, and I think that's box office success. Yeah.
As you're reliving these memories and going back in time and these images flash, if you had to go back in time and give that Arjun one piece of advice today, what would it be?
यार मैं बहुत इंटरव्यूज में बोलता था सुनो सबकी करो अपनी, and then I stopped doing that midway through my career. I mean, I would say about 4-5 years into it, I got a bit hassled or confused or caught up in the race or in what I'm expected to do versus what I want to do. मुझे घर पे बैठने से बहुत डर लगता है, अभी भी है, पर अभी मैनेज कर सकता हूँ. I think COVID has helped all of us understand that aspect. So I used to just, when I started out now, I was very clear about what I like, what I don't like, what I want to do as an actor, as an audience. I think I was an audience to begin with. Like you said, I'm obsessed with films. मैं 4 बजे रात को पिक्चर देखता हूँ, मैं 6 बजे सुबह पिक्चर देखता था. I used to see 3 films in a day. I used to consume material more than food. And I was a fat kid, so imagine how much food I used to consume and how many films. And that time we didn't have digital. It used to be all DVDs and LDs and VCDs and finding a way to watch all the new stuff. I was very, very honest to my core and my instincts and my impulse. That went away because I started listening to a lot of the noise. I started getting affected. It's human nature. Even though you grew up in this industry and there are people to advise you, I've had very, very good people around me. So I'm very realistic, but phir bhi, what's the best way to put it? I think I made choices that were not organically me.
Okay.
So if I could go back in time 5 years, I would say, yeah, be calm, be patient, don't get impatient, don't get hassled, it's a phase. Don't push it, don't rush it. You're here for the long run, you have to believe in yourself and you have to back your instincts and impulse. I think I went against my own thought processes and did a few things that, and I didn't take care of myself. I think that's one advice I would give. I would say mentally, physically, emotionally, take care of yourself, which I'm doing now. So I can look back and tell Arjun from 2016-17 that yeah, thoda sa संभल जाओ, थोड़ी शांति रखो, don't get caught up. So that's it. Yeah. I mean, it's a phase. Every actor goes through it. Every star, I think, downs, ups are all part of it. But you have to protect yourself, and you have to maintain that one thing that makes that spark come alive in your eyes. You know, when you go to work, that spark can diminish, but it can't get shut completely. And you have to fuel that spark, and that comes from backing yourself and making choices that make you happy versus just doing it because you're supposed to do it.
Absolutely. And I think also what you touched upon is a very important point is you were passionate about every film you did, irrespective of its outcome. When you said yes at that point in time, there was something organic in you which made you said yes, yeah. Right? I want to talk to you a bit about how you navigated that dark period, who was your sounding board at that point in time? Was it family? Was it just reaching inside? Was there someone?
So if I may be, and I'm going to try and be as honest because I feel my audience deserves that honesty and I respect the people that buy my tickets. I think I never stopped working hard, but I was working too much and I didn't take care of myself. So even during my films doing well, there was a sign from the audience that he can look better, he should do better, he has to work harder. I was working very hard to lose weight and to work hard to be the character, but it was not translating. And I think the message started coming through, I would say, Half Girlfriend opened well, Mubaraka didn't. Even though Mubaraka did well eventually to a great degree after that, it did about 55 crores, which is a very reasonable number. But एक message आता है ना audience से कि यार हम theatre जाना चाहते हैं आपको देखने के लिए, ऐसा नहीं है, लेकिन you have to promise us that you're going to look the way you looked when you made your debut. So I was dealing with that. In that year, nobody can help you except yourself. You know, people can just nudge you. Some people can tell you honestly. Some people can tell you indirectly. The audience is giving you a message. You can shut down your Instagram and social media and not read it. But eventually, यार उस टाइम पे ट्रोलिंग इतनी ज़्यादा नहीं थी, लेकिन एक ऑनेस्ट फीडबैक थोड़ा ज़्यादा था. मैं ये मानता हूँ ट्विटर एंड इंस्टाग्राम वर फार मोर आर्टिकुलेट, नॉट अबाउट नेगेटिविटी, बट इट वॉज अ प्लेस टू स्टेट योर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. I think the darkness came because I knew, but I didn't deal with it well. I just went into continuously working. I said, no, I'll solve it in the next film, I'll solve it in the next film, I'll solve it in the next film. The point is that you cannot say कि जब वो फिल्म आएगी और वो स्टार्ट होगी तब मैं सॉल्व करूँगा, because उसके बीच में आप क्या कर रहे हो? You have to take care of yourself. I didn't do that. In that dark phase, my films also then didn't do as well as they should because, see, films are made by a director. An actor can only do so much, but you have to present yourself as the character to the audience. Films don't do well, there are various factors, but if you're not looking the part, then it is on you as well. And I take responsibility for that. Not intentionally that I never came to work with the highest amount of respect and regard for my films, but I was just not able to crack it. My health problems got worse. in that, I think my family, of course, supported me, but they can only say so much. I've had Adi sir, who's been very honest with me. I think the audience has been honest. I think all the harshest words also have come from a place of inspiring me. But I can't go to anybody at that point, you know. When films don't do well, you have to deal with it yourself. Nobody else understands. I've grown up in this industry, so I've seen the highs and lows of my father, my uncle, and people around. I've always tried to be humble in my success. I never tom-tom about it. I'm the first actor who did a 100 crore film in my generation. I'm somebody who's always taken risks and chances, worked in ensembles, worked in an English film like Finding Fanny after 2 states. I've done mainstream work. I've done films that are slightly off in that sense, when you do a Sandeep or Pinky Farrar. I've worked with Anees Bazmi and Divakar Banerjee in the same year, if you look at just the diverseness of it. So I think my intent has always been honest. My body didn't support the kind of work I was doing, which is what I was saying, coming back to, I was not listening to my own self.
Right.
तो जो आसपास लोग थे वो तो support करते ही हैं, they give you signs and hints, but I didn't act upon it myself, you know. So there was a support system. It still is there till today. But this is something that has to come from within. I lost 50 kgs to become an actor, and I always thought कि यार 4-5 किलो है, थोड़ा सा आराम करूँगा तो हो जाएगा. I'll work on myself. But I never did it. I don't think I was complacent. I just kept delaying the inevitable, and then COVID happened, and I changed my thinking and the way I treat myself, and I started loving myself more. I think I stopped loving myself in a phase of just working. So having a support system was great, but they were only guiding me. I was not taking the steps, and that's something that happened only in 2021 finally.
But I can say that you're looking your healthiest and your happiest at this point.
I am. Thank you for that. I am. I feel like I'm very close to what I was when I started out. I think I'm a little bit more to go, and I hope I'm shooting for a film right now. As soon as I wrap it, right now I want to stay focused on that film. After I wrap it, I would like to push myself a little more. So I want to give my audiences that respect, and I want to make sure that I look my best, because I know when I look my best, I feel my best, and I can deliver the performance that I'm capable of. So that happiness comes from today when my director sees me on screen. They're not worried about how to protect the way I'm looking. They can shoot exactly how they imagined, and that's the least I can do for my films.
For someone who has a pulse on the industry and you know what's happening, you know, you just...
Apparently for everybody else except my own films, I have the pulse.
Well, listen, I can vouch for this. I want to quickly get your thoughts on the current conversation in the industry, this whole South films versus Bollywood, the language debate. As someone who watches cinema and as an actor, your thoughts?
So I think there are phases. You have to understand there are major phases that an industry goes through. And corrections happen, understandings happen. Sometimes you disconnect from an audience. Sometimes you understand what the audience is thinking. While you are making films, there's an evolution. I think it's a situation where a lot is being spoken about instead of looking back and understanding the fact that, forget South or Bombay. I mean, listen, we remake their films, they remake our films. My father has remade so many of their films. They're very good at their writing because they have a strong foothold with their mainstream audiences. Their audiences are also very forgiving towards success, towards failure of the big films. They will still come in hordes to see another film of an XYZ superstar because there is a genuine fan following. There is a genuine fan following that is built over years. We have had that in our mainstream audience for years, but we've also got multiplex audiences that have come in a big way in the last 8-10 years. Now that multiplex audience is not typically a fan of actors. It's a fan of word of mouth and content. They want to be tested, they want to be pushed, they want to be questioned, they want to be drawn out of their comfort zone. At the same time, we've had Hollywood films coming in on a daily basis. Now Malayalam cinema Kerala has a very literal audience. So they are making a very unique kind of cinema also that appeals to their audiences. Our audience is very big. Very big. I mean, we have to deal with the entire country. So I think Hindi films, somewhere, because the multiplex audience has come in and that's where more of the money is, we have not looked at the pan-India audience. The South industry, and I hate saying South, but I just feel that the movies being made there, like I said, they have a pulse on their audience even today because their audience is very faithful. They're not consuming their material on OTT. They go first day, first show to the theatres. They don't wait for word of mouth and reviews. They're not checking our tweet reviews to decide whether कि शाम की पिक्चर की टिकट बुक करनी कि नहीं. वहाँ पे सुबह 4 बजे शोज होते हैं. पिक्चर का सक्सेस और फेलियर ना आपको मंडे ट्यूसडे पता लगता है साउथ में. फर्स्ट डे पे ओवर हियर तो सुबह मतलब पिक्चर लगी 3 बजे इट्स रिटन ऑफ. And that's not the audience's fault. I mean, that's now how the audience has become, because they have better options. They have million options. So, अगर आप buffet create करोगे, तो you have to bring something to the table which makes you the first choice. And again, this is a very, मैं बहुत आपको theory वाला answer दे रहा हूँ, but क्या है ना, we've disconnected from a certain audience that is very faithful to us, and we have sort of connected to an audience that is not the most faithful to us as stars or as prototypes. They are looking at something different, so we are trying to do different stuff, but we are not connecting with the audience that wants us to be who they loved us for. And they go three times to see films if they like it.
Absolutely.
So our bigger stars have that ability that they connect with them and attract them. The younger generation, and I say this with absolute sincerity, I think we also have lacked certain amount of directors who have the vision for pan-India films. The writing has evolved, the numbers have come into play a lot. So what happens is people are only looking at the bottom line. There are very few risk takers in terms of, and I'm not saying filmmakers as directors, I'm saying just the studios, the corporates.
Right.
The structuring is very limited to, अच्छा ये इतनी recovery है तो हम इतना ही खर्चा करेंगे. It's always looking at the buffering of making sure.
Yes.
If you, RRR they took 2-3 years to make the film. Two boys sat at home and worked on one particular film. We don't have that camaraderie right now where people are looking at the bigger picture. We've not had that in a while. I mean, when you look at Bahubali, when they did it, Prabhas and Rana were only doing that film for a while. Along with the money, it's also the vision that needs to be backed. Along with the fact that you are also trying to make a film for the bigger audience, you need to then not do so many things. You have to also, as actors, hold on to yourself, protect yourself, and nurture that particular film for a period of time.
Did you watch any of these recently?
I've watched all of them. I loved KGF 2. I couldn't but I've seen KGF 1, and I'd spoken to Yash after that, and I think it was a fantastic film. I really enjoyed it. I spoke to Allu Arjun after Pushpa. I called up Sukumar, the director, whose first film I'd seen called Arya with Allu Arjun, which my father wanted to see because he thought that's the right kind of debut. And since that film, I've been a fan of Sukumar, because their directors also write really well, keeping the audience in mind. I've seen Bahubali, of course. I loved RRR, that interval sequence. I was whistling in the theatre. Me and Rohit Dhawan saw it together, and we were loving it. Junior NTR and Ramcharan were so good together. It was not about kiska role better. They were having fun and believing in the director.
Right.
So my belief, and it's a very long answer, like I said, there's a lot of technicality to it. The numbers, we need to look beyond just the bottom line sometimes. We as actors are also accountable in that. There's a bigger conversation there. But all in all, I think, the camaraderie has to return. If you look at the 70s, 80s, 90s, Amit ji worked with all actors, Akshay Kumar and Ajay Devgan have done 2 hero films and big films, and always, when you see a Khaki or a Mujhse Shaadi Karogi, Akshay Kumar has done Khaki with Ajay Devgan, there's Mujhse Shaadi Karogi with Salman Khan, Saif Ali Khan has done 2 hero, 3 hero films. I truly believe that we have not presented, when you see war doing well, it's a big example.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that's the only solution, but we need to get out of our own perception as heroes and actors. We need to put our audiences first, and I think they do that much better than we do. We chase niche a lot faster because we like conversation to be about credibility. But now I think everybody's realized that there is a lot of credibility in connecting with the audience. So I think there will be a slight shift, but time lagta hai yaar.
Arjun, I firmly believe that the characters that an actor plays in a film or the choices he makes leaves a certain impact on him as a person. Somebody could be insecure about his body type, then he starts doing action films and feels more confident. Somebody could be an introvert and does an all-out masala film and then realizes there is this part. What did you discover about yourself through all these characters that you've played?
That I've never raised a hand on anybody in my entire life, and then after Ishaq Zadeh, people perceive me as an action hero. I was like, wow, okay, I've got the physicality for it. That was my learning. I think that was the biggest learning I got, that people see me very differently than I see myself. I would always imagine I'm quite a soft, vulnerable guy.
But are you done with this? Arjun never smiles and he's very serious, and there was this whole phase where there was this conversation going about the fact that, oh, he doesn't.
Yeah, now I'll tell you what the problem is. I've got this face where if I'm just sitting straight, it feels like I'm very serious. That's not intentional. That's just now my face. अब जो भगवान ने मुझे face दिया, मैं उसको कुछ नहीं कर सकता. I try and smile as much as I can. Yes, if I may say so, when I started my career, my first film, when I was promoting, I was not in the right frame of mind. So I didn't smile a lot when I promoted. And then I did Gunde, and Ranveer used to be in such a happy mood. I realized, okay, you should be happy when you meet the media, because they don't know you. Like, you don't know me beforehand. You don't know the baggage I carry and what I've been through. And the least I can do is be warmer to my fans and to the media. You're the first starting point for me to connect with people. So I learned on that aspect, and I think I've been a lot more warmer as time has proceeded. I don't smile a lot, yes, but there's nothing wrong with that, right? अभी मैं हंसी चिपका के रखूँ और दिमाग में कुछ षड्यंत्र रच रहा हूँ, be a manipulative person. I don't want to be that guy who's fake. I don't smile a lot, and that's not a bad thing. That's just my personality and my face. I'm not always angry, but on screen it works. People think I'm angry all the time, and I come across as this action hero and this serious actor who's always playing these kind of roles. So be it. I'm okay with it, but yeah, I can't impress and make everybody happy. So I try and smile when I genuinely feel like smiling. Like I feel like smiling now, so I'm smiling.
And on a final note, I think I personally feel that you're in your happiest place right now. I'm really looking forward to see work coming from you and have another conversation as films come closer. Thank you so much and all the very best, Arjun.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking to India Today.